you talk about in your book and in your work of sort of an originalist view of American politics. And this sort of got me thinking about Alexis de Tocqueville when he toured
Yeah.
America in the early part of the 19th century. And one of the things that he noticed was the lack of government. That there was really a limited government society that existed in America at that time. And what the outgrowth of that was that people actually took care of each other.
Right.
Things like churches
Exactly.
and schools and community, fire halls, everything was sort of done, and government really played a very small role. And then, of course, now we have this massive expansion of government where people are looking to government to take care of them. But part of what you talk about is acquainting people or reacquainting people to
Yeah.
this originalist view of America, what the principles that America was founded upon, and sort of giving back to them an understanding of, hey, you have a responsibility to get involved in your community, and that's where you can make the most difference, as opposed to tweeting about how much you hate Kamala. Um,
Exactly.
so, am I getting this right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly true. And really it is, we are not each other's enemy. It is part of the divide and conquer from above. And the American people have been lied to about the end goal. That's why Kamala Harris isn't talking about anything. So to me, the choice in 2 weeks in America is either restore America and our sovereignty and our Constitution, Bill of Rights, rule of law, and the traditional and original Constitution, or we are going to become a cog in a globalist wheel where we are on a digital track and trace surveillance system like China with the rest of the world. So that's where I believe we are. And I think people are starting to really understand how far it's gotten in our country without us paying attention.
There's a sort of a neo-Marxist class conflict aspect to this that you understand, you talk about in the book and on your show, the sort of us versus them mentality that you think people need to break out of, that
Yeah.
divide and conquer mentality. And you provide some solutions for how to do that. How do people break out of this us versus them mindset, which is part of the ideology that they're pushing?
Yeah, and it's multi-layered because it's also zero-sum game. Either I win or they win. We can't both win.
Right.
And this is in battle, this is in right and left politics, this is in any of it. And it's all fake because first of all, there are not two parties. The entire government has been captured by this a global public-private partnership of globalist oligarchs that have bet on global governance and have invested trillions of dollars into that model. And when Trump came in, he started pulling the pieces apart. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Accords. He pulled out of UNESCO. He pulled out of the Immigration Compact. He pulled out of NAFTA. He pulled out of the World Health Organization. I mean, he was doing serious damage, and he got on the stage at the United Nations and Davos and basically said, America is never going to be a globalist country. We're always going to be a nation state, the United States of America, and we're going to define our own destiny. And, if we would go back and read George Washington's farewell address and followed it, we would never have gotten in this trouble. But there's multiple things that we were supposed to be, which was also neutral. So we were not, according to the original, the founders, but certainly put into Washington's farewell address, was that we should never get involved in sovereign nations' internal affairs, but we should also never allow them to be involved in our affairs. And what we have now are think tanks and NGOs that are opaque and funded by those that do not share our values, do not look at America as worth saving, because their end goal of endless war for profit needs to continue down the path it's on. And then if you look at the other side, the same thing is with all the social issues. It's either we win or they win. It's a constant struggle. So for me, I think it's also about training your brain to not react right away. There's
Mhm.
tools in there, and also we should get back to writing by hand on paper, because there's a different thing to that. So when you're typing everything, you're always on your phone or your computer. There's a whole thing that you're missing in cognitive development with
Right.
actual writing and journaling. And to me, I say everyone should be looking at where we are. We're at a biblical turning point that will be known in history forever. So sit down with yourself and your thoughts and your God, and journal a little. What is my mission statement? What do I want for myself, my family, my kids, my future? What do I want America to look like in 20 years? And think about that. And it gets very frightening when you see that this is a playbook that's been used multiple times. And if the American people don't realize that if we lose freedom, our divisions over abortion or the open border or all means nothing, because the totalitarian endgame is always what Agenda 2030 and formerly Agenda 21 was about: cataloging all of nature, all of natural resources, all of humanity, animals, everything into this model that is kind of like a stock market where they own everything and we will own nothing and be happy. And if you really break it all down, people are outraged. We are Americans. We do not stand for tyrants and bullies and quiet totalitarian revolutions. But with every cause that they pick up and that they put a bill in to protect this class or this oppressed group or this marginalized group, the truth is they're taking away liberty and the rights of everyone under the guise of helping the little guy. And until we realize that that is a con game, there's just so many layers to it. So I just try to break down with common sense why things happen, and also the giant transfers of wealth that this includes,
Mhm.
including, trillions of dollars, literally, of taxpayer money going through USAID, National Endowment for Democracy, and all these cutouts of the CIA to overthrow foreign governments all the way back to the PNAC documents. So I kind of lay out how we got here. And when people actually read it and they realize, and I put in the statements by Klaus Schwab and the statements by Rockefeller or Kissinger, then people are like, oh my God, I never realized that this was a long term, long game plan by brilliant people who wanted a one world government. The League of Nations failed. They reworked it, and then sold it to us as kumbaya, let's hold hands, globalism, when it's got nothing to do with that. But we, the people, can have that if we start to take back the power and start to fight against some of the horrible things, like lobbying should be totally illegal. That's the number one way we lose our votes and our voices. NGOs, think tanks, they should be totally self-funded, not 1 cent of our dollars going to them. And also, as you know, what they did to the churches and the synagogues and the mosques with Johnson and the 501c3 actually took control of all of those institutions. So we do have to realize that there's a 10th and 9th and 10th Amendment way to unravel a lot of these agencies that have put these regulations that are totally antithetical to the Constitution. But again, that is a local movement that has to rise as ripple effect through the states. And then the states have to find out ways to combat the what I believe to be a controlled demolition of America and the liquidation of our natural resources and our freedom by people that don't have America's best interest at heart and have already invested in a future where their consumers are really going to be the 1.6 billion, 1.8 billion in China and India. And we're really just going to be kind of Venezuela and a good place to get natural resources, because that is where we're heading if we don't wake up.
You talk about also in your book and in, on your show about the transformative power of living out your values and of forming local networks with other people who are interested in things like liberty and things like taking back your communities. Do you see the MAGA movement as an expression of that, or is MAGA just another sort of political movement like the ones that you've been talking about that are really distracting people from the truth of what's going on?
Well, I see the MAGA movement from the eyes of Peter Navarro more than anything else. The
Right.
MAGA was about financially and industrial wise and manufacturing, taking back the power of our country from within in terms of our financial situation and our export import situation. The United States of America should not be importing anything from anywhere with the natural resources that we have, the tens of thousands of acres of abandoned farmland, full on factory towns totally abandoned, all this sent between Bush and Clinton and Obama overseas or to China or to Mexico. None of that should ever have happened. It was by design to move the power structure to China, also building the track and trace surveillance social credit score system in China. I fully believe that what is functioning in China with the social credit scores, ESG, track and trace surveillance, that was built for us, for the entire world. So all the people that slowly but surely moved the power center to China really gutted our country. And to me, I thought Donald Trump and his team of financial advisors created the Make America Great Again to restore the power of entrepreneurship and industry and innovation and technology and educational supremacy that has been gutted in this nation since the 80s. And so that's what I think of that. Whatever's happened to that movement, it's just been an expression of people that feel left behind, and that's what I think is appealing about it. But to me, the most important thing, and it's a national security issue, is taking back our ingenuity and our financial strength, and ending the us depending on China or anyone else for anything. If you're asking somebody right now who they're voting for, I would pray that they would say they are voting for themselves, their family, their future, God, and country, because that is what everyone should be voting for. And one leads us to global governance and Agenda 2030, and one leads us back to America being sovereign, proud, strong, and on the world stage again, because this group is isolating us from the rest of the world, not the other way around.